Hello there, welcome to Genessis Models and welcome to our live session. So I was playing cameraman. Tonight we have the A-4M and we are going to be doing some weathering on it. As you can see, I've already got some examples to show you just there. Just a quick one just to throw out there. If you haven't already, the Genessis Models show went up. Just kind of showing you what's sort of going on around Genessis Models and whatnot. If you want to go see that, it is on YouTube, it is on the Genessis Models website. Go check it out, it's on the forum, everything. We have got some giveaways, by the way. We do have these lovely decals of the Greece Zeus was it the F-16 display team. Very cool, very fancy decals. Really makes a nice pretty F-16. 1/32 scale, 1/48 scale, and we have 1/72 scale. So if you want to get in on that competition, go check out the Genesis Models live, not the live show, Genesis Models show. So if you want to get a bit of a freebie there, go check that out. Also tonight I'm going to do a little bit of a quick sort of inbox review of a product. I'm going to do a proper one, but I just wanted to show you because I've just sort of brought it. So let's just jump in, change cameraman. No, that's not the one. There we go. Change the camera angle a little bit and let's get showing you it. Basically, it's by a company called Ultimate or something, Ultimate Modeling, or I don't know. I got this from the hobbycolors.com. It's a nice sort of online shop in Greece. Got another one just here if you want to just see what their logo looks like. It's only like a couple of quid for each one of these, and they are quite cool. Basically what they do, and I will go into a little bit more detail when I do a proper video for it, but as you can see, they hold specifically certain products, i.e. for this one, it specifically holds our Tamiya Extra Thin Cement just here. This one holds our micro, micro solid set, as well as micro crystal clear. Really good for these kind of products because they are popular products. Pretty much any modeler uses them, and anyone who's ever used them will know that these things, you open them up and they just fall over so easily, and you get it all on the bench. I've done it umpteen thousand times and wasted loads and loads of product solution. It's really bad when this knocks over as well, because it absolutely eats anything. If you've got plastic on your surface and it just goes everywhere, it's just going to mess up all your plastic. I've had it happen to me before and it's a right pain, especially like a model like this. It'll just kind of make everything go gooey underneath. So yeah, it is sort of like a definite sort of product to go out there and buy. I used to use foam actually, but it's quite nice to have something that you can have specifically for it and whatnot. But there you go, nice little sort of product review just to get things started. As always, you know, get into the comment section if you want to, and ask any sort of questions. Say hello. Frequently asked questions or problems or anything you want help with, or whatever you're working on, just jump over, get on the comments, comment down below, and just let me know, and I'll try and sort of answer it live here, or even maybe if I can do something like a quick demonstration, I will. But while you're doing that, I am going to show you our sort of weathering just here now. One of the weathering products for weathering this is like a sludge wash, and you know, one of the popular ones out there is by Flurry Models. It's a nice weathering wash. It's basically a sludge wash. You can get it again any online store. It's only like a couple of quid, and you know, one of these bottles will last several models. I mean, I haven't brought one in probably like 2 years or something. I'm still using it, so they do last a long time, and they do the job really well. They're easy to use as well, which is also rather good. What we're going to do, I like to get a nice sort of biggish paintbrush, and what we're going to do is, it's so easy, you could probably even guess, right, is we just literally just plaster this all on like so. Right, and as you could see, really easy to apply. There is some areas where you might want to be a little bit more careful in applying it, because there is a cleanup stage which you will see in a bit, and you'll see why it is a pretty sort of good idea to be careful in some areas. A nice wing like that, wings are so nice and easy. It's a nice and easy. It's a nice flat surface. We can just slap that on. But maybe when you come round to stuff like air intakes and stuff, you don't want to be plastering it on, because you've got to somehow sort of try and clean out inside there. So that is where you could probably get like a smaller paintbrush, or if you're a bit careful, right, you can just plain and simply paint the recessed panel lines, because that's what this is all about. It's all about getting your recessed panel lines nicely filled in. Right, so we can sort of maybe save some of the product and just sort of do this, where you just follow the recessed panel lines and you paint them in like so, and go along that route if you want to go along that route. It all depends. I know wings are nice and easy. Now, one coat, you know, sort of normally does the trick, but to be better safe than sorry, I do sort of let this dry for about half an hour, and then I will go off and whack another coat on like I've just done here, and I'll let that dry for another half an hour until it's all nice and dry, because it needs to be dry, because you want it nice and dry inside the recessed panel lines and everything. All right. Another thing is as well, we have got a bit of black here, so it's a good opportunity to sort of, you know, let you know that you don't just want to be sticking with one color. This lovely dark dirt color pretty much is like almost the standard color to go for, and it's absolutely lovely color to fill in your recessed panel lines and everything. But you know, it's not really going to sort of work well when it comes to like black surfaces. So I like to come in with a little bit of grey, right, and just whack this on top. Now you can be careful and sort of, you know, sort of not paint the black areas or whatever, but there's no harm in coming across and sort of painting this afterwards, right, as long as it's painted on top. It probably is better if you sort of let your dark dirt dry and then maybe come in later and whack some of this grey on top of there, but that'll just bring out the black areas as well, because you won't have really much of any sort of effect on a black area with dark dirt. Right, and as you can see, here's one I made earlier, all nicely dry and ready for the cleanup stage. It does look a mess, and you know, if you've never used this product before and you're doing this, it is a bit sort of, you know, I've messed up my model, well, you know, what's going to happen here? But it does clean up rather well, and I'll explain why. I'm just going to have a quick read of any comments. Okay, already we've got some questions about this product just here, is when it comes to the wipe up stage. Now, what I was actually going to explain to you is that what you need to do for this product to work nicely is, as you can see, you know, last time we was doing live session, we've done all our deckling and everything, but what I've done is I've sealed it in with a gloss coat. That gloss coat is going to nicely lock your decals in. Right, so all your decals are nicely locked in. They're not going to come off, because I mean, you know, if you don't lock them in with a gloss coat, I mean, you could be pressing it with your thumb and the decal can come off. You know, you remember the old days where you didn't do decals right. I was there, I did it as well, and you press it and it come off and everything. But with the gloss coat on top, it locks in the decals. What it also does is saves you work and gets you all prepared for the weathering stage. So the thing is with these weathering washes is, if you do the cleanup stage on a matte surface, they're not going to clean up as much, which in some cases, depending what effect you're going for, not having it clean up so much is kind of good, because it'll add to a weathering effect. So maybe something like armor, you could, you know, spray it matte and then put this stuff on, wipe it off, and you'll end up with like a dirty sort of surface, right? But with aircraft, we only really sort of want to do our recessed panel lines and recessed rivets. So a gloss coat is going to lock that in. Make sure you leave it to dry overnight to properly cure and everything, and you should be able to just get a kitchen paper towel, make it a little bit moist, and we should be able to wipe this up. Now I'm going to start off with, you know, just generally sort of doing circles, right? And I'm not really going to sort of change my cloth yet. I'm still keeping it dirty. I just want to sort of get the majority of this stuff up, right? Because we can play around a little bit and get some slight effects from this, right? So that's pretty much had it now. So I'm going to just change the cloth, and I'm just going to start wiping in the direction of flow now. So I've wiped up most of it with one pass, and now I'm going in the direction of flow, right? And what this is basically going to do is, if you miss some of our stuff here, you know, maybe you miss a little bit, you don't quite notice you've left a little mark, at least that mark is going to be almost like a streak, right? So you might be able to see, like, we're getting like little streaks and stuff going on here. But I mean, if you do keep wiping, you are eventually going to get it all up, right? And hopefully you can see from that, it just brings out the detail of the model. We've got all these recessed panel lines now coming to the foreground, right, showing off that detail. And that's why we kind of do these weathering washes, right? Now we do have a problem of there's some of these areas we can't quite get to, right? This is where cotton wool buds comes into play. Now this is the kind of a bit of a tedious side of doing this, because it's one of these things where some people just use some kitchen paper towels, and you know, you could sort of tell they haven't gone that extra mile. But to give it that more professional look, you know, again, getting a cotton wool bud, and what I'm doing, I'm just biting the end of it just to make a point. I don't know whether you can see that on camera, maybe focus a bit. I've just made it into a point, and what this does is allows us to get deep into these areas just here. Alright, so I can wipe these up as well, and it's probably going to take a couple of cotton wool buds, in some cases maybe more than one pass. Alright, just biting it again, but it will sort of get into those nooks and crannies and clean it up quite nicely, as you can see there. And then we've got the same thing here, which is going to take a bit of time to get these little raised areas, these little bumps. I'm not quite sure what they're called, but you know, we sort of clean these up as well. Now you might come into a situation where the washers come out the recessed panel lines, right? I mean, here for instance, because I'm having to clean these out, it's actually drawing the because I'm wiping at it so much, it's actually kind of cleaning up the recessed panel lines that we've just done. So that's not good. But in situations like this, it just means we get the general gist of it. But then if we come in and just target these little areas, so these little areas, it might be a good idea to use our sludge wash like a pin wash, right? There's a different way of doing things, is where you don't come in with a big brush, you come in with a nice small pointy brush. Right, here we go. I just got a pointy brush, nice small pointy brush. This is like what, a treble zero, right? And what we can do is really sort of target the area so as we are only getting exactly where we want it to be. So once we've cleaned up all these little bumps where you can see all the nasty blackness, what we'll do is come in and just literally just paint these areas. Now this isn't like a true pin wash, so I can't do that. I might show you that in another video, but there's plenty of videos on the Genessis Models website about actual pin washes. We might have to actually use it here, to be fair, because it's not really going that well, because the sludge wash is more for just blasting it on, painting it on, but you know, it doesn't have that capillary action to sort of flow in there. The other thing is, you might sort of notice that right there, right, we've got something going on where the sludge wash hasn't gone in that little bit just there. I don't think you can quite see that quite clearly on camera, but you know, there's a little bit there that hasn't had the wash. That is potentially down to we could have wiped it away, so another blast there and it'll be fine, but it could also be that the recessed panel lines are too shallow. They're not deep enough to take the wash, so every time you wipe it away, it's just going to wipe away what's in the recessed panel line. To get around those things is, before you even start the model, for a start, is to just know, to feel all your recessed panel lines and just know that that's going to be too shallow. I'll get out a P cutter and I'll just rescribe it, right? But sometimes you miss that, like this little bit just here. So in those situations, right, you do need a steady hand and you do need to be careful. So, you know, if you don't want to ruin your model, you haven't got a steady hand, maybe not do this. But what we can do is we come in with a blade, right, and all we do is very carefully, very steadily, where this shallow recessed panel line is, we'll just run the blade very lightly across. There you go, just done it. I'm not really pressing that hard, and I'm being very careful, and I'm following that recessed panel line. So I've just cut into that now, which means that we've basically put sort of like a new recessed panel line in there. So if I come along now with a bit of our sludge wash, paint that on there, right, we should let it dry, but I'm just going to see if I can get away with it, which I have just about got away with it. I mean, it's probably best if you let it dry, but it then fills in that little shallow area. I'm just going to whack a bit more on there because it could do with time to actually just dry in there. Right, but it kind of tidies up all the areas that you kind of miss, or the that are too shallow and everything, and then that is basically it. You just kind of clean it up like I've shown you, until the model is, you know, basically looking like this, where you're seeing all those recessed panel lines coming to life, coming out at you. So we can now move along with some more weathering, which I'm just going to have a quick look at any more comments you guys have. Yeah, I mean, we got one from Kit Hobbies here. He's got a comment about this wash. I have done a video on how to make your own. It is a good point, because it is a very easy sort of solution, really. It is basically you know, water with pigments, and use washing up liquid. You know, it's so simple to actually go off and make your own. You can you know, get pastels and stuff, and you can scrape the pigments off that, or you could use actual pigments that you can go out and buy, and as I say, it's just water, then like a drop of washing up liquid, you know, and that is basically the same stuff. If you wanted to go out and make your own, there is a video in the tutorial section, I do believe, on the Genessis Models website, where I'll just show you all that and how you sort of make your own if you want to save a little bit of money. But it's easy if you get paid someone else to do it, if you ask me. So next up, we're going to actually be doing some weathering on landing gear, and this is where we can actually kind of jump into sort of like a pin wash as well, and I might actually do a little bit on the underside just to sort of show you. So let's get out some landing gear, nice little bit of landing gear, Right, and what I'm going to be using, Ammo does a nice bit of a sort of a panel line wash. I'm going to be using Black Knight, which is 1611. This is basically an enamel paint that's been thinned down to the perfect consistency for a panel line wash. Right, you do need to give them damn good shakes and get all the sediment off the bottom, or you'll end up with a weaker mixture than you should. Just checking comments, sorry. Right, so giving this a good shake. What you want is a nice sort of clean paintbrush. So I'm just going to quickly clean up mine, because I don't want to cross-contaminate with basically a kind of a water-based wash with this enamel base, because it's oil to water when it comes to these things. All right, so you have to be careful, as well as it does make a great advantage actually in some cases. So taking our bit of landing gear here to sort of bring this to life as well, because it is quite plain, we're going to use this pin wash. Now what should hopefully happen, right, is if we just dip this into here, right, it's normally quite thin, so it normally has quite a good sort of capillary action where it flows. Right, so what we can do is we can literally come along and sort of touch where we want it to be sometimes, and it sort of flows. I mean, it's not always got the best of flow, but you just touch it like a pin, just pin it and touch it, and it does just flow around. Right, so I'm just going to do a little bit more, just pinning this. I mean, in some cases, you know, the flow's not that good. It almost sort of, sometimes it just depends from tub to tub about its flow. I mean, if you really want it to flow, you could add some flow improver, but for enamels. But it doesn't matter, because we are going to do a bit of a clean-up stage with this, which is a bit of a problem actually, because we need to wait for it to dry to the clean-up stage. And considering we're live, we need that cleanup stage to happen pretty quickly. So there we go, we've just painted that on there. It looks a bit awful again, just like you know, when we did this, because we're just blasting it on. But then, as always, there's a cleanup stage where you clean it up and sort of make it look all nice. I think I'll save that for next week, because as I say, enamels do take a longer time to dry, which is why they're kind of good to play around with. Acrylic stuff, it dries too quickly, so you can't sort of feather it in and smooth it in and get this nice sort of nice feathered smooth look to things. But enamel paints and oil paints, right, they take, you know, much longer to dry, that when you kind of come to the cleanup stage you can play around with them. But I think we'll cover that a bit more next week, because we've got to let it dry. I probably should have prepared some before I came on. I do want to show you a little bit more weathering as well tonight. I'll just where is it, let's find the right one. Here we go. Give it a good shake. What we've got here is fresh engine oil. It's gone a bit blobby. I don't think I put the lid on properly or something. Yeah, give it a damn good shake. And this is really good for around sort of suspension areas. It's really cool. It's only just like a little thing. I mean, it's probably hardly noticeable. Right, but around these sort of silver suspension areas, right, we can just again pin wash sort of fashion, just tap the areas. I mean, it's not got much flow, so I'm actually just going to paint this on, right, but because of the color of it and everything, it does look kind of cool. It does look like a bit of oil in the suspension and stuff. Again, there's going to be a cleanup stage where we sort of clean it up, and it sort of makes it a lot less and lighter than that. But it just adds another color, because going off and just doing everything black is fine, but then, you know, we add a little bit of oil here and a bit of oil there, and maybe a bit of dusting of some pigments and stuff, and it just brings everything out quite nicely, which I probably might go into next week, because I think that is basically all I've got for you tonight, because we've got to wait for things to dry and everything. By time next week we should have all of this nicely sort of weathered. Well, not completely weathered. I mean, there's a bit more weathering, but we do need to get all your sludge wash done first, and have all that sort of nicely showing off all your recessed panel lines. So next week we're probably going to be doing stuff like streaking effects, where we show sort of oil streaking across the model. We'll probably bring out the pigments and everything, just to sort of, you know, on tires and everything, and sort of cool. I don't know if you've ever seen underneath aircraft where you got all this sort of like yellowy brown sort of trail along the underside, where, you know, you got some sort of leak or something's blubbering out, and stuff like exhaust fumes, all that kind of cool stuff. But we'll tackle all that next week, the final touches of our weathering just there. But I think, sadly, because of drying times, that is pretty much it for our model. Just going to check any comments from you guys before we finish tonight. No, sadly that is it for tonight. Sorry it's a bit of a short one. I've got a few things to do later. A few things that's going on here and around Genesis models. I'm planning on doing a bit more of the Enterprise. We do actually have, if you are interested, I'll just show you just here. I know tonight it's been sort of quick showing you weathering the A4 just there, but our FA18, I'm basically doing the same thing, but I'm doing it in our usual sort of, you know, proper video format, where we've got like 4 cameras going on and everything, and it just goes into a bit more detail. So if you think I've missed something, you know, we're going into a lot more with this one, as you can see, which is all nicely done. You can really sort of tell the difference, bringing out all those recessed panel lines. It is quite cool. It just starts to bring the model together rather nicely. What is it, the Tempest? The Tempest is still coming along. We're doing all the cockpit and everything. In fact, you know, on the subject of weathering, we are weathering the Tempest, but we're weathering the Tempest's actual cockpit. So we're doing a bunch of weathering in there if you want to find out more about that. And as always, there's loads of stuff on the Genesis Models website, all sorts of tips and tricks on pin washes and sludge washes and weathering up cockpits and everything. So you want to find out more, go check out that. But yeah, sadly, if there's no more comments, which there isn't, that is it for tonight. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Again, as always, I will see you next week at Friday, where we will be doing our usual live session just there. So until next time, my name is Bobby Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.